Hello everyone, welcome to Game Brigade. My name is Brian, and today we're going to be counting down my favorite 10 games for Halloween season. So if you're looking for some spooky games to play this Halloween, let's dive right in. All right, so before we begin, I want to say thank you to Into the AM for sponsoring my show. We have the lion here, kind of a geometrical shaped lion. I think it's pretty sweet. They have a $15 bundle right now when you buy 3 tees. There is also some sweet Halloween shirts I would love for you to check out. Remember, when you use my code BOARDGAME, you save an additional 10% off site-wide. Check it out, and thank you Into the AM for sponsoring my channel. Let's dive right in. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about some spooky games for Halloween, and I wanted to maybe bring some that aren't as discussed. I know some of these are probably on other people's Halloween lists. Some of these are definitely not going to be on those lists. And I don't have boxes for every one of these games. Some of them have left the collection, unfortunately, and gone into other homes. But we're going to talk about every game that we have here and see if we can find some. So first off, and also these are not in a ranked order in terms of listing. So let's go ahead and start with maybe this guy right over here. Nemesis. Nemesis is by Awaken Realms, and this is a game based and set in space. And there's actually 2 versions of Nemesis, so if you want to get a lockdown version, very similar. That one is set on a Martian space colony. But Nemesis is probably my favorite of the 2 because of the theme. You are going to be a crew member aboard the ship in Nemesis. I believe the ship is named Nemesis. And you are going to awaken in your cryo chamber, and things have gone wrong, and now there's a life form roaming the ship, and players are going to have to survive by finding a way off the ship. There are multiple ways you can do this, but each person has their own personal goal to how they can achieve victory. This is a semi-cooperative game where that means players could potentially be working against one another in their end goal. Nemesis wins because of the theming. It's really cool to have a game that so directly inspires the Alien movie theme and very, very much immenses that spooky feeling. Next on the list would be a game that I don't have anymore, but I have done a review for this game, which is Alone. Alone. It's very similar to Nemesis in the sense that you are going to be set in space going against monsters, but its unique twist that it's a one versus many, where the hero player is the one and the evil players are the many. In the game of Alone, a player is going to be a specific type of crew member, a scientist, a captain, whatever, and you are going to be planted inside of a ship that you don't know the directions of anything. And so the board is going to be set out where you aren't going to be able to see where you're going, how things are directioned, and it's very hard to find senses in where to go. And so you're going to have to explore the ship, not having a map. The aliens or the evil players have a full layout though of the scenario, and they're also playing as a DM role where they're going to be placing out different map tiles and spawning monsters for the player to play. I will say it's probably one of the best games in terms of that feeling of terror where you're like, oh my gosh, I don't know what's happening or what's going to be down the next path. Highly recommend it. Harder to find though. If you are able to find it, definitely one to try out. Alone. Next on the list is Dead of Winter, a Crossroads game. And Dead of Winter takes place in a colony in the middle of winter during a period where there are very few humans left alive, as humanity has been mostly been converted to zombies. And players are going to have to survive through a common goal through the winter as they try to fight back the forces of the undead. But unfortunately, each player also has their own secret goal, which might hinder that final goal or even sabotage the game completely. So players are going to have to be working together, not knowing who's doing what or what they're doing for their end goal as they compete. This is an incredibly cool game, very thematic, using the crossroads mechanic. Next on the list is going to be Final Girl. This is by Van Ryder Games, and Final Girl is an incredible series based on the notion of the final girl survivor in common horror flick movies. Basically, in this game, you are going to be taking a different girl. Each box has 2 options available for you, and you are going to be playing them against a villain. each box has its own villain to go against. And what's great about this game is it's completely modular. You can use the girls from this game versus the villain in this game, or alternatively, you can switch it up to play as many different ways as you want. Incredibly thematic, incredibly fun. This is a solo-only game though, so it is a little bit more restrictive in terms of its player count. But if you are a solo player and you're looking for a game that really challenges your ability to survive, Final Girl might be it for you. Next, we've got Mansions of Madness by Fantasy Flight Games. There are 2 editions. This is the first edition, but they have a second edition, which changes up the gameplay significantly. So whatever one you're looking for, I'd recommend picking up the correct edition. The first edition does not require any apps or anything. It is a full normal game with a DM inside of it, where players are going to be exploring these different mansions, trying to find their goal, while the DM is actively trying to hinder their movements. In the second edition, the DM is replaced with an app-based system where players are going to be accessing the app as they continue through their progression. But both games are incredibly fun, incredibly thematic, and I would recommend Mansions of Madness. Next, we've got Betrayal Legacy. Now, this is based on the Betrayal House on the Hill, but this is the Legacy version. It's the one that I own. But you could pick up any of the Betrayal versions. They all relatively do the same thing. In Betrayal, players are going to be sent back to the mansion for whatever reason. Maybe the house is being deeded to one of them and they must stay the night in the house or whatever. And they're going to explore the spooky mansion, trying to uncover different omens. And once a specific omen number has been triggered, then there's going to be a haunt that triggers, which will have a specific scenario for the players to encounter. Generally speaking, one of the players is going to become the evil player, and now it's going to be a survival for the one player to defeat the other human players in whatever scenario they're going to be playing. I enjoyed Betrayal. While I do think the mechanics are a little light for me, it is still a fun game and experience to be had for those spooky times. And if you are looking for more of a family-friendly version, I highly recommend the Scooby-Doo version, as I think that Scooby-Doo theming really plays well with the Betrayal format. So that's Betrayal, House on the Hill. Rounding out the final 2, we're going to show you Who Goes There second edition. This one is based on the book Who Goes There, which was also had a movie adaptation called The Thing. In this one, players are going to be all humans surviving in an Arctic laboratory or camp, and they're going to try to survive as they wait for the helicopter round to occur. But through the period, there is going to be a alien spore released, and one of the players may become infected. You're not guaranteed that the players will be infected in this game at all, but that creates that sense of doubt, as everything you do is all about surviving and preventing yourself from being infected. But how do you get infected? Who do you infect? All become very interesting implementations in this game as you come to the final conclusion and decide who leaves and who stays. Who Goes There is a great movie adaptation as well. If you want to watch The Thing, I think it's a great way to implement this game into your board game group. Who Goes There, second edition. Finally, we've got My Father's Work. In this one, players are going to be taking on the role of a mad scientist continuing their father's work as they go down different paths of story-driven narrative. This is a very good game. It's a worker placement Euro system though, but it's got a very good narrative build to it, which is very rare in a system that's kind of like this, as you are playing the mad scientist. So whether it's building Frankenstein or trying to become the powerful werewolf, My Father's Work has all those scientific tropes in there. I highly recommend checking out, if you're able to find it, My Father's Work. All right, well, that wraps it up. Those are my top 10 games for spooky seasons. If you're looking to play some games this October in preparations for Halloween, I would recommend checking out some of these games, that they might be a good narrative fit for you. Again, my name is Brian from Game Brigade. I appreciate you guys watching the show, and I'll talk to you very soon. Bye-bye.